What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we are going to be doing a full redraft of the Patriots 2019 draft class. Almost a year ago, following the Patriots 2019 draft, I did a grade for each of the individual players, and it's a year later, and I want to go back and accurately grade those players. Of course, last year when I did the original draft grades, we hadn't seen the Patriots draft class in action, okay? Not in training camp, not in preseason, nothing. Now that they have a full season under their belts, let's accurately grade them. Starting off with Patriots first round pick, wide receiver Nikhil Harry. He was selected in the first round with pick 32 by the Patriots, and I originally gave him a grade of an A, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to give him a B. A lot of high expectations for Nikhil Harry, and of course rightfully so. When you're a first round pick, you're expected to come in and right away make an impact, not really necessarily a developmental player. Of course, as we all know, Bill Belichick has an issue drafting wide receivers. He's never drafted a wide receiver in the first round ever in his career. He broke bank by doing so this past draft with Nikhil Harry, so a lot of expectations there on him. He was doing pretty great when it came to the offseason programs, training camp, mini camp, OTAs, all of that good stuff. Then the preseason came along, and in the second to last joint practice there in the first week versus the Detroit Lions of the preseason, Nikhil Harry ends up getting injured. A lot of us did not expect him to participate in any of the preseason games in order for him to be ready for the regular season. He ended up playing in that game versus the Lions. He showed a lot of potential within the couple snaps he got, but also injured himself in that game also, which further injured him, and of course set back his progression to get re-healthy, which ultimately led to us not seeing Nikhil Harry for the rest of the 2019 offseason and preseason games, I should say, and also starting the season on injured reserve. So really, we were not able to see Nikhil Harry in action till after the Patriots bye week. His stats were as followed, okay? He appeared in 7 games. He had 24 targets with 12 receptions for 105 yards, averaging 8.8 yards a reception, 2 touchdowns, and a long reception of 18 yards. So, clearly some pretty rough stats there, okay? He was only targeted a total of 24 times, and he only caught half of those balls that were thrown his way. Now, miraculously, with just hauling in 12 receptions, he was still able to bring in 2 touchdowns, which at least gave us the satisfaction that Nikhil Harry is going to be a good red zone threat. That was the big thing when drafting him, was he's going to be a big guy, a big threat for the Patriots in the red zone. He's going to be good at 50-50 balls, and although we did not get the dose of Nikhil Harry that we all wanted and expected, we were still provided exactly what we expected from him in the red zone. I give him a B ultimately because we can't really grade him fully. The injuries really were not his fault, and from the limited amount of snaps we saw, he did some pretty great things. The part that is on Nikhil Harry is the amount of dropped passes he had, and the fact that he was one of the worst receivers in the league in getting separation. But at the same time, the New England Patriots knew that with Nikhil Harry, they weren't going to get a wide receiver that was all about separation, that was not a star end receiver when it comes to separation. Josh McDaniels had a really tough time just getting him involved. They were trying to utilize him in ways that Nikhil Harry just wasn't, okay? He's a first-round pick. He clearly has uncut and very raw talent. So use the talent that's there rather than trying to turn a wide receiver into the exact opposite of what he is. So a lot of these issues were not Nikhil Harry's fault, but at the same time, again, some of them were, such as the separation and, of course, not being able to hang on to the ball. Now, next up with the second round in the 45th pick, the New England Patriots had selected Juwan Williams, and I had given him a grade of an A-. Okay, it wasn't really the pick that I think many of us were expecting them to go ahead and select a cornerback, which was easily the Patriots' most stacked position out of every position on the roster at the time. But really, he was a steal, and the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick have loved this guy for a very long time. He brings really great height. He is a guy that will be able to play between cornerback and safety. Again, bringing in that height will really be able to maneuver him and bring around his versatility. And due to his versatility, I expected a lot more out of Juwan Williams. Now, when training camp came along, mini camp, he was struggling a lot. He was known for being very good in man coverage, which of course the Patriots run about 80-85% of the time on defense, and also being a very good press cornerback, always being right up against the receiver or the tight end's butt. And again, sadly, we didn't see this. We didn't see this in the preseason games that he played. He wasn't a guy that was dealing with injury. Now, here and there, we would see some sparks of, okay, this is what I wanted to see from Juwan Williams, finally. But then there were a lot of times that we went, oh God, another second-round cornerback that Bill Belichick drafted looks like it's going to be a bust. This season, Juwan Williams really hadn't done much at all. He appeared in 9 games in which he had 1 pass defended with a total of 4 tackles. He really was more of a rotational guy, a backup piece in case someone went down. He wasn't a guy that Bill Belichick went, okay, I'm going to put you in certain packages. He basically just said, okay, if a guy goes down, you're basically going to be the guy that we have to plug in. He has a lot of potential, okay, from the cornerback he was in college, from the type of cornerback he is in the Patriots system. It is a perfect match. It's a match made in heaven. He just has to live up to the expectations. So for right now, that A- I originally had for Juwan Williams is now going to turn into a C+. Now, next up in the 3rd round with pick number 77, the New England Patriots selected defensive end Chase Winovich. At the time, I'd given this an A+ signing. It was a steal. Probably my number 1 favorite selection from the Patriots from their entire 2019 draft. And he's going to get the exact same grade he started out with, and that's an A+. He really lived up to expectations, and I'm going to get into why in just a second. So this past season, Chase Winovich appeared in all 16 games, and he recorded 5.5 sacks with a total of 20 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 10 quarterback hits. I mean, Winovich was literally a half sack away from tying Chandler Jones' rookie season record for the amount of sacks he had when he was drafted by the Patriots. Winovich is hands down one of my favorite players on the New England Patriots entire roster, not just on defense. And that's because of what he brings both on and off the field. Now, when Gronk retired, a lot of people were worried because of the locker room presence he had, okay? He was that funny, silly, upbeat guy. And luckily enough, the Patriots got that back with Chase Winovich. He's such a great guy. I mean, for any of you who haven't watched Kyle Van Noy's YouTube channel, basically, in a nutshell, what he does is he brings a Patriot on in each video, goes out and kind of does this food tasting kind of video with them, and he did one with Winovich, and it just really showed his character. And he's just all around such a great, funny, and happy guy. But right when he gets on that football field, it's all business. He's very serious. He has that high motor that everybody was talking about once he was drafted by the Patriots. And he put up better numbers with limited snaps than most of the starters. You know, guys like Dietrich Wise. And even guys like John Simon. Now, Winovich was definitely mainly a part of special teams, okay? Bill Belichick loved having him on special teams. He was a big special teams presence. He actually had a defensive touchdown because of what I believe was a blocked punt. He returned it, of course. He threw it into the stands. They got fined for it. But when you're looking at each game he's playing, I mean, 50% of special team snaps, 69, 60, 59, 65, 63. Like, Bill Belichick truly wanted to see what he could do on special teams as a rookie. And that's one of the sad things about being a rookie is that Bill Belichick never really uses you to your full potential because he kind of likes to ease you into things. Now we look at the most surprising thing here, and that is Chase Winovich's numbers when it comes to defensive snap count, okay? The most he played all season was 50% of defensive snap counts, and that was week 1 versus Pittsburgh. After that, he was dropping to 42, 26, 9, 29, 28%, 33, 26, 13, 42, 16, 3. Like, there was only one game, and that was the first game of the season where Chase Winovich played 50% or more of defensive snaps. And again, I say he had 5.5 sacks. Okay, now let's just imagine that Bill Belichick actually uses Chase Winovich as a primary defensive lineman. Whether that's defensive end, whether that's a rushing linebacker, no matter what it is. Imagine how many sacks Chase Winovich could have put up if he was playing more than the mediocre 20%, 30%, 3% of defensive snaps. And I mean, it's also a little bit frustrating because there were times where the Patriots' defensive line was actually having issues. At the end of the season, there's a lot of people already looking into the mock drafts for each NFL team, and a lot of them have the New England Patriots taking some sort of defensive lineman because of the still nagging defensive line troubles that they're having. A big way you could have solved that was just play Chase Winovich more. So Bill Belichick, dear God, I hope you're hearing this. Next season, you need to use Chase Winovich as, if not your number one, then your number two edge rusher. Now, next up in the third round with pick number 87, the Patriots drafted running back Damien Harris. I originally gave this pick a B+. Now I'm going to give it a C. And a C might be a little bit harsh, and it's not Damien Harris's fault whatsoever that he's a C on this list. It's more so Bill Belichick. Now, again, a lot of people thought that Chase Winovich was the steal of the draft, but even more people thought that the Patriots getting Damien Harris was a bigger steal of the draft, and in fact, a lot of NFL analysts actually thought that Harris was the steal of the entire draft. Of course, a pretty shocking move there by the Patriots, adding another running back when running back was not a need at all. Him and Rex Burkhead are pretty much identical running backs, pretty much the exact same height and the exact same weight. But Bill Belichick decided to do the same thing that they did when James White originally got drafted by the Patriots, and he gave him a red-shirted year. He was on the Patriots active roster, really wasn't dealing with injuries. He was dealing with injuries during the preseason and the offseason and all, which is why you didn't see too much of him within the preseason games. But really, every single week, Damien Harris was a healthy scratch unless one of the running backs was dealing with injuries and wasn't able to be active for that game. Then Damien Harris would be active in case they would need him for any point. Now, Damien Harris was active for a total of 2 games the entire season. Both games, ironically, were versus the New York Jets. Now, the first game that they played against the New York Jets, he didn't get any snap time whatsoever. The second time that they played the New York Jets, he did get some snap time. He got 4 rushes in which he had 12 yards and averaged 3 yards a run. I still believe Damien Harris has a lot of potential. It's kind of, like I said, the same thing that it was with James White. Right now, there's not too much we can say about it. A lot of people are going to call it a bust, and I'm definitely not at all ready to call him a bust. We kind of just have to see what Bill Belichick's going to do. Kind of have to use that wait and see type of method going forward until we start to see Bill Belichick starting to slowly bring him into the offense again like he did with James White. And hey, if he's able to turn out like a James White, then the Patriots are extremely lucky. Now, next up is going to be Yanuko Juice. That was a selection by the Patriots in the third round with pick number 101. I originally gave this an A-. Now I'm going to have to give this a B. And this is where I can already hear the comments coming in. Why the heck are you giving this a B? You gave Damien Harris a C and you're going to give this guy a B? And he's another guy that we didn't get to see anything of. But here's the thing. The Patriots knew that was going to happen when they drafted him. They knew he was injured. They knew that he was likely going to be out for that season as he was dealing with some injuries that he had previously gotten and was still recovering from college. But they still decided to go out and waste a third-round pick on him. And Yanuko Juice is actually being considered as one of the best tackles within the 2019 draft class. So the Patriots getting him at a third-round pick was actually a really good move and has a lot of potential. Now, he's a guy that we literally have not seen anything of. Not OTAs, minicamp, training camp, preseason, regular season, nothing, okay? He spent really the entire time on the Patriots IR. There was times he was there watching at practice, but for the most part, this was kind of just another red-shirted year. He's dealing with injury. Hopefully, he's all good to go for this season. But again, a guy with a lot of potential. The Patriots are looking for some tackle help. I think that he could have been a really big piece last year if he was healthy, that you would have seen him going in at that left tackle position when Isaiah Wynn was out rather than the revolving door we had. But obviously, I did have to give him a pretty substantial downgrade because we haven't seen anything, but I'm not going to go any lower than a B. At the lowest I could possibly go is a B-, but I just think that this signing has a lot of potential going forward. Now, next up is guard/center Yododa Frohold, who the Patriots drafted in the 4th round with pick 118. I originally gave this pick an A-. Now I'm going to give it a B-. Yododa Frohold is another guy that I would say the Patriots stole, and I think that it is going to be a very underappreciated signing. Very versatile. Again, he's able to play center, he's able to play guard, which of course the Patriots are going to need for next season no matter what. Whether David Andrews is ready to go or not, whether the Patriots are able to re-sign Ted Karras or not. But I think that the Patriots were really looking in the future when they decided to draft Yododa Frohold, okay? Obviously, the Patriots are having some issues with center. But I think the biggest reason that they were looking into the future was Joe Thuney. Chances are, guys, the Patriots are not going to be able to retain Joe Thuney this offseason. He's going to hit the open market. He's going to get a big deal. And chances are the Patriots are not going to be able to keep up with it. They already are giving big money to Shaq Mason, their right guard. Chances are they're just not going to be able to retain Joe Thuney. And I believe Bill Belichick knew that, and that was exactly why he drafted Yododa Frohold, who is known for being very, very well in pass protection. Now, he does need to upgrade and work a lot more on his run blocking, but his cup of tea in this situation is pass blocking, which, of course, in my personal opinion, it's much better to have a guy who can keep your quarterback safe than a guy who's having an issue opening up and blocking the right guy for the run game. Yododa Frohold started the preseason off pretty good, pretty hot. There were a couple of games I remember that he actually was clean, didn't record any negative stats, but towards the end, he kind of started to go a little bit downhill, started to struggle a little bit more. Now, part of that was on him. Part of that's also going to be the supporting cast he had around him. I mean, James Ferentz, Dan Skipper. All those guys really don't help, and when the guys next to you aren't able to hold their own, you kind of have to hold their own too, which kind of starts falling back on you negatively. Towards the end, Yododa Frohold got a little bit injured. The Patriots decided to place him on the injured reserve, which ended his season. To me, the injury was not that serious. It wasn't considered season-ending, but of course, Bill Belichick did not want to waste a roster spot on him. Bill Belichick probably believed that he wasn't ready just yet, but of course he also did not want to just release him. Now, next up, the Patriots selected quarterback Jarrett Stidham in the 4th round with pick 133. At the time, I gave this signing a B. Didn't really think much of it. You know, of course, him being selected in the 4th round, there's always a possibility of him being something because that is still earlier on in the draft, but I wasn't too high on what I was hearing about him and what I was seeing about him. But dang, I think he really shook a lot of our opinion, and my grade on him now is going to be an A. Stidham came into this offseason ultra prepared. Now, he didn't start the greatest. He was clearly a rookie. He clearly was having his issues, but as it progressed, he easily took that backup spot from veteran quarterback Brian Hoyer, who has been around the league for many years. He's been with the Patriots for many years, and Jarrett Stidham easily came in and just took that from him. Now, he also did something that Danny Etling was never able to do with the Patriots, and that was taking the majority snaps away from Brian Hoyer within the preseason. The Patriots clearly wanted Jarrett Stidham to be that backup quarterback, and he really earned it. I mean, we really barely got to see Brian Hoyer play within the preseason because of how hot Jarrett Stidham was doing. He was able to make a lot of complicated NFL throws. He was able to show off his arm. Again, his accuracy was way better than many people were expecting his accuracy to be. And right away, a lot of people started the conversation of, could this be Tom Brady's backup? Give him a couple years under Tom Brady, under the Patriot system. Give him the weapons, give him the offensive line. Just give him some time to develop. And this guy could really be something for the Patriots, okay? He's athletic. He can use his feet as well as his arm. And honestly, I have not seen Pats Nation so excited about a quarterback since Jimmy Garoppolo. Of course, then the Patriots give him some garbage time snaps in a very blown out game versus the Jets. They pull out Tom Brady in a very shocking move because Brady does not like to come out of games. And in his first throw, Jarrett Stidham doesn't throw a very good pass, gives it right to Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams takes it to the house for a pick six. So, of course, that was not a great moment for him. That was a big welcome to the NFL moment for Jarrett Stidham because that was real competition. That wasn't preseason competition. But from the same standpoint, that was a learning part for Jarrett Stidham. That's something he can learn off of and build off of going forward. So my big advisory point here is don't take what Jarrett Stidham had in garbage time in that Jets game for what he would be in real life if he would become a starter in the NFL, whether that's for the Patriots or not. Jarrett Stidham has a lot of potential. Again, a guy that give him a couple years with the Patriots, give him a couple years under Tom Brady to keep learning because his development in year one was extremely amazing, extremely substantial, and I'm really excited to see where Jarrett Stidham goes moving forward. Moving on, in the 5th round with pick 159, the Patriots selected defensive tackle / defensive end Byron Cowart. Now, I originally gave this pick a C, wasn't a fan of it, didn't really think he was going to go much of anywhere. He struggled a lot for the majority of his college career, didn't really put up any statistics until he moved his college, and that's when he started to really develop a lot more. But like I said, I gave this originally a C, but now I'm going to give this signing a B. To me, Byron Cowart was a guy who was most likely going to get cut. Maybe he gets placed on the Patriots practice squad, best case scenario, but I didn't see him making the final roster. Shockingly, he did. He really opened up later into the offseason. He really showed up in the preseason games. He was really good at getting to the quarterback. He was vividly a force to be reckoned with through the interior of the Patriots' defensive line. And that looks like what the Patriots are going to be doing with him, at least for the majority of time, would be placing him at defensive tackle within the interior of the defensive line rather than placing him at defensive end, which I think is a very good move there by the Patriots. He definitely specialized a lot more in rushing the passer, which I think the Patriots could definitely use within the interior rather than him just being a key big body run stopper. Shockingly enough, he was able to make the final roster. He appeared in 5 games in which he recorded just 2 tackles. He was another one of those guys who just wasn't someone who was getting much snap time. Okay, he was more of a rotational piece, more of a in case a player gets injured type of piece. He did play a little bit of special teams. He played about 3% versus the New York Jets. And then as for the defensive snaps, he played 26 one week, 8 1 week, 28 1 week, and 5 1 week. So that just goes to show that the Patriots just weren't giving him much snap count, which of course wasn't very surprising. Byron Cowart definitely shocked me. He definitely lived up to more than expectations. And I really hope that this coming offseason, he's able to turn it up even more, and he's able to continue to make the Patriots' final roster, but become more of a piece, okay? And I'm not saying he's going to become a starter, but more of a rotational piece, not just getting, 26% of defensive snaps or 5% and constantly being one of those healthy scratches each week. Now, next up in the 5th round with pick 163, the New England Patriots traded up to select a punter in Jake Bailey. I originally gave this a B-. There was a lot of good within Jake Bailey. Obviously, the Patriots were not sold on Ryan Allen whatsoever, and they proved that season. They proved it the season before. And everything you heard coming out of the draft about Jake Bailey was all positive, and the fact that they traded up within the 5th rounder to select him already to me solidified the fact that, okay, he was going to be the Patriots starting punter for the following season. And for me, that B- grade that I originally gave him easily shot up to an A+. Jake Bailey was amazing this season. There were times where he was still a rookie. There were times of some inconsistency, but really, for the most part, all throughout the offseason, whether that was in training camp, OTAs, mini camp, the preseason, the regular season, everything, his kicks, his punts were just booming. And he really started to create a good connection with the Patriots special teams in just year one, which was the big question because that was the big thing that Ryan Allen had against him. He actually finished as one of the best punters in the league, and he was actually for a while considered as one of the punters that was going to go to the Pro Bowl. For a while, he was leading votes in Pro Bowl votes, and then as time went on, he kind of just slowly started to get pushed down. So just crazy to believe that in his first year, he was very, very close to being selected to a Pro Bowl. Now, lastly, is a guy that really we're not going to have to talk much about. That was in the 7th rounder. The New England Patriots selected Ken Webster with pick 257. I originally gave this draft selection a C, and now it's just going to be a complete F. Some of you guys were pretty high on this. Some of you saw a lot of potential in this. I didn't. I saw that there could potentially be a little bit potential to the draft signing, but for the most part, I didn't see much happening. I believe he was dealing with some injuries because he was really not present for any of the Patriots offseason programs, really any of their preseason games. He ends up, of course, getting cut there by the Patriots, and then I believe it was the Miami Dolphins that went and claimed him. So really, we did not get to see much of anything from Ken Webster, and right away, he was out of the New England Patriots system and into another NFL one, so that was pretty much a complete bust, but it was the 7th round, so who really cares? But that is my complete redraft of the Patriots' entire 2019 draft class. What are your guys' thoughts on each individual player? What do you guys think about the grades that I have to give them now? My updated grades. Let me know your updated grades for them and what your grades used to be before the season started in the comments below. Please make sure you guys subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you guys get notified for all the videos I post because it's the offseason, guys. You guys are not going to want to miss videos because shocking news could drop within a heartbeat and you guys are not going to want to be late on the news. While you're at it, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it because it really helps me and the channel out. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video.